Hey, what's going on, everybody? Geronimo 22 coming back. Gonna give you some information here, a little bit of a data dump. Gonna give you a game plan and give you a checklist for favorites, a way to call plays during the game. Something I've been doing forever. We're gonna talk about Robert Saleh, Demeco Ryan's wide nine defense. If this is the defense you want to install, this is definitely a must-watch video. Just going to get us started. So what you're looking at here is an overall sheet of numbers, not including this past weekend, but just some coverage numbers. This is not an exact science. It may not match up perfectly with other people's numbers, like match quarters. Cody does a nice job with that, but it's going to get us in the ballpark. Um, and just give us an idea of what they are, what teams are. So we're looking at the Niners right now. And if you want this sheet, I will put a link to this sheet here. If you want to just take a quick look, I just have all the teams here. You can pause the video for your team. Top 6 coverages for each team in the NFL. I also have the same thing I put together something for college. So if you're watching this video, you play college football, you want to get an idea of what your team has been doing so far, just let me know. Make a comment, hit me up. All right, I'll add that as well, maybe to another video. Okay, but right now we're looking at the top coverages, and to me, this is so important. Coverage comes before front nowadays, because coverage is going to dictate how you're going to fit the run, and also obviously how you're going to stop the pass. So your team needs to have an identity. I've always believed you should have at least 3 main defenses. Kind of goes with the whole Madden deal, where if you look at a play call selection screen, it has 3 plays, right? So you just want to make sure that you have 3 things that you're at least making an offense think about. If you want to have 4, 5, or 6, that's fine. But I think that's kind of like the way I like to start. So these are the calls that I'm going to try to get in the most. Now, just looking at this, you have a lot of cover 3. This data dump doesn't separate cover 3 match, sky, fire zone, hot. Did a video on that already. If you haven't seen it, go back. Kind of looked at some real life game film with the Niners. They kind of use all these things. They're a little more zone heavy, but they do match certain places on the field. So we're gonna have to try to replicate that and try to get that going the best way we can. And that's pretty much gonna be playing zone and then maybe matching with one of your users or doing something different. We're figuring that part out. Now, the next part here would be the quarters call and the cover 6 call mixed together. I do believe that they've used both of these, more quarters on the first down, cover 6 maybe on passing downs. And again, this is not a pure quarters. It is not a pure cover 6 match. So we're going to have to figure out when we play how we're going to try to make that work for us. Okay, we're going to do probably what works best in certain situations, certain formations, and go from there. Then we have our cover 1. So we're going to get a lot of cover 1, and on their team, it's more cover 1 on passing downs, third and medium, when they're bringing 5 and they are trying to rush the quarterback, and that in between area, like 3rd and 3, 7, 8, something like that, you see more cover 1, or just as a change up to some of the cover 3 stuff and quarter stuff. And then the last thing is cover 2. Okay, that's going to pop up here and there. We know cover 2 is really good, so we're going to use it in our game plan and use it as a nice little change up. So that's pretty much the identity of my play call sheet, and I'll jump onto my play call sheet here. Again, the play call sheet, this would be available for you guys. In the past, I've given out a couple play call sheets. This year, everything is for public use, and let's just jump onto that part of the film real quick. Give me a second. Okay, so this is a new sheet here that's actually right before we get into the game plan. This is just my data sheet. This is what I'm going to use going forward for all my teams. If you want something like this, just let me know if you have a team that you want to take a look at. I put the top play calls on defense right up here from coverage standpoint. Then I go through the blitz numbers that I have. It's important because you do want to kind of figure out what type of blitzes, how often are they bringing pressure, how much of your play call sheet needs to be pressure, right? Something new, stunts, right, this year. So we got to add that in there. We should be stunting about one, at every 5 plays, one time out of every 5 plays. Sim pressure, I'm leaving it out for the Niners, but that does tell you how many times of the pressures are sims, I'm assuming. So I think that's a good thing. Actually, this would just be considered technically not a blitz. So this is just out of base downs, how much of it is sim pressure, okay? So the next thing would be coverage plan, right? So this would be kind of like mimicking our how I plan on building out the top formations that I'm going to use. I'm going to probably pick 1 or 2 top formations. I'm going to get the first 3 play calls right in a row. This is kind of like how it will look on the game. It's going to be probably 3 match, 3 sky, and probably nickel blitz 3. Um, and then after that, I'll probably mix in going down here, row 2 and row 3, cover 1 calls, my 2 calls here that was cover 6 and quarters. And then over here would be cover 2 is a change up, and you got to have a blitz in there, all out pressure, just in case you need it. But probably won't call that too often. So this is kind of how my top formation, or front as I call it, would be kind of game planned. And I'll probably do the same thing for maybe another one. So I'll have at least 2 formations that I'm going to be majoring in. Now, what formations am I going to choose? So that kind of goes down to the next part here, the front plan. So these are all the different formations I'm going to choose. So I'm going to go with 9 different formations or fronts. And the top one's going to be nickel over. And after that, it's going to be 4-3 over wide. I just like the way these 2 are working for me, and I'll explain more on that later. The rest of these are going to be more situational fronts, third down, things like that. Okay. So that goes back up to what I was saying up here. When I go through my call sheet, when I show you, when I go to like a supplemental front, something like nickel load mug, I may only have 3 calls coming out of that front, right? I'm not going to load up with 9 calls for every single front. Some of these fronts are more like being, like I said, used for situations. Now, disguise plan, kind of, this takes a little bit of film watching, kind of getting, I know the team a little bit, but I had to go back and take a look at some film, you know, show it, and play it. So that means lining up in 1 high or 2 high and just playing it out. And then using this type of plan is something that they do a lot. Go 1 high and then they get back to 2. And then they do a little bit of going 2 high and get back to 1. But it's definitely probably heavy this when it comes to a real disguise. That's kind of what they do in the middle. All right. So that's unique to them. We got to try to figure a way to get that done. All right. So that's pretty much that. And then the blitz plan, kind of get an idea of when you watch tape, what kind of pressures do they like to bring. The Niners, the Texans, they like to bring nickel stingers, basically nickel coming off the edge by himself, 5-man rush. Then they also started, at least the Niners are doing a lot of free safety walk up, means free safety up, kind of walking up to the weak side of the formation, and then either blitzing or going back in the coverage. So that's going to have to be a user thing. I can mess around maybe with some close alignments, but I think that's going to be a user thing of me kind of like jetting back to the middle of the field or blitzing. So we'll figure that out. And then the good old 5-man twist stunt games, all the load alignments with the linebacker in a mug and bringing that linebacker, usually that's number 54, letting him rush. It's kind of a thing that they do. So I just wanted to show this to you. This is something I love to do. It gets you like, hey, if things get out of whack and you're watching yourself play and you're not doing these things, then you're not sticking true to your personality, and going from there. Okay. So the last thing is the good old call sheet. So you guys know me from how I do it. My call sheet is a replication of my favorites that I choose in the game. I choose 3 plays for each formation. And just go through it. And I try to group them together for a certain reason. So like I just told you, these 3 plays right here are grouped together. Why? Because they are the cover 3, 30 to 40% plays we're going to use. Here are the rest of these plays. We're going to kind of mix in again. I'm going to look at it from column 2 and column 3. So it's linebacker blitz 1 contain, cover 1, and so on and so forth. So I won't go through everything because it'll take too long. Try to make this a little bit of a quicker video just to give you an overview. If you have any questions, just download this thing. You should be able to download it. If you can't get the download to work, it's a Google Sheet. It's free. Just let me know. Red Zone, I'll fill this out later. I always wait to kind of like do some more study on that, but we can kind of basically, the Red Zone stuff, you can just use what you have on first, second down. All right, let me explain this though. People always ask me these questions. What do the colors mean? All that stuff. Green is match coverage. Again, they're not a huge match team, so it's going to be interesting. I'll probably have to maybe get out of this and maybe play some underneath over the top, or just figure out a way to kind of hybrid the match coverage. Blue is the zone drop coverage. Okay. In our game, purple is match, but with pressure. So like fire zone 3, fire zone 2. Red is pressure, man, and black is 4-man rush, man. If you see anything that's kind of like orangey, that's hot pressure. So we're bringing 6. And I don't have anything for sim pressures, but we don't have any in the game right now. So I just wanted to show you that. All right, just overview, nickel over and nickel 4-3 wide. Nickel over we're using obviously versus 11 personnel. I'm okay to use nickel over versus 12 if they're doing a lot of motion type stuff. And I'm okay with also using three safeties. I don't think the Niners use it as much. I know the Texans have a package with this, but just understand we would just put the strong safety at nickel if we need to. And then 4-3 over wide is against 21 personnel, 12 personnel, where they're trying to run the ball downhill. These formations here over 6-1, 5-2, 4-3 solid, more of your short yardage, gotta stop them formations. You see a lot of red, so that's a lot of man pressure. The 4-3 solid over is like 4th and 1, 3rd and 1. I can show a cut up of these plays if you actually want to see what it looks like in real life. But we're gonna jump on the field, eventually here and kind of like break it down by every situation. Probably a lot better to actually look at it from the game and look at real life clips. And when I get actual film against users, I'll give you more of that. All right, so that's first and second down, and also third and short. Okay. And then when it comes to third, medium, and long, okay, so basically if you follow this sheet and you follow this method, the plays here are kind of like third and medium, and then you start seeing more coverage, third and long, play a little more coverage. So in the beginning part, with third and medium, you're probably bringing more pressure. You're bringing zone pressures, cover ones, things like that. You can always mix in some of these pure zones in these situations too, but just probably being more aggressive. As you get to more long yard situations, we're looking at more stunts, but then we're playing more coverage. Okay. If it's second and long for some reason, you can use this as well and just get into a pass mode and just call these third down plays. So when it comes to the red zone, a lot of times the first, second down, this part right here is the same as my blue. All right. But I just take out some plays that are just really bad in these situations. Like I don't like calling cover three down there. All right. I don't like calling cover three match for different reasons. I like to be more split safety down in the red zone. That's just a philosophy thing. Make it hard for them to throw the ball down the seams. And then third and long, again, same thing. I'm probably going to be more split field coverage, more stunts, probably maybe not as much blitz. Okay. And then I have goal line. I'll talk about that for in the 5-1. 5-1 plan is important. Like something like this, like dime, normal, DB blitz, zero. Like this is a good play to use against a team that's going to spread you out and you want to like get pressure, but then you want to get the matchups that you want to. Just make sure, you want to be aggressive, but you don't have to send six. You can send four and start, double teaming people and stuff like that. But you want to make sure guys get aligned the way you want. All right. So that is that. Now, I do have one more sheet here that's kind of a work in progress sheet. I call this my game day sheet. This is exactly my favorites in the same style, that it's the same order that you're going to see here in a second. So this is basically like my call sheet, but just now broken out. And if I'm thinking about what I'm going to try to do, maybe, and this is just, real nerdy stuff, but like I'm going to mark during the game how many times I call a play. So if I type in there, everything's in white, right? Situations. So I can kind of like make sure that I'm calling plays evenly. I don't have to, some leagues that you're in, maybe they already only allow you to call a play a certain number of times. So you can kind of fill it out that way. But if they don't, now you can just kind of have a way, okay, I need to call this. I call this twice. And this is kind of what we do, in the NFL. A coordinator is going to call off the call sheet, but at some point between the series, they start marking how many times they've called stuff and what haven't they not gotten to yet, right? So just want to kind of have that for you. And also maybe you can use this for like a game plan situation. Like, hey, you have a sheet here. I want to call these three plays. So right off the bat, I'm just going to like change the color of the background or something like that. These are the three plays I want to use in this game. And then boom, I'm using these plays and I'm putting the numbers 2, 3 as I go. So I want to kind of show you that. That's kind of something new that I've been working on. This might be a little bit too much. I may not actually use this in a real game situation, but I just wanted to have it ready to go. Okay. So I think that's pretty cool. All right. So let's jump on the actual Madden field. Let's take a look at this team's uh, plays. I'm not going to, this video will not go through every single play and why I'm doing all this stuff. That would be kind of too much. But I wanted to make sure you guys have a good game plan and just a good organizational, hey, this is the philosophy of what we're trying to do. Here's how we're going to use some of our coverage shell disguises. And then we'll come back here and actually go through like I do, like I've done in the past. Let's go through all the coverages. Let's go through all the fronts. Let's go through all that stuff. Let's, play by play and like an install. And then we'll go from there. Okay. So I'll see you on the Madden field. Okay. So let's take a look at this bad boy. again, I have my sheet open here, and I'm just gonna get this thing going. So the first thing is we're gonna look at the favorites. I already have them set up. Let's go back and take a look real quick. So the very bottom of my play call sheet, this is third down, right? So I like having my third down plays at the bottom so I can just find them quickly. At the top, first and second down thought process, with third and short being an option as well. So as you can see here, we have all the cover threes here. How we're going to do this as well. One thing I'm going to do is take the disguise factor and set it up to start the game. So I'm going to come out here and I'm going to come out and nickel over, right? And I'm going to get into a cover three look. Okay, I want that to be the base shell. The cover my wide defense for right now is going to be, I'm going to start with a two shell. And then I think some of these load mug fronts, you can make shells on them. So we'll talk about that later. But for right now, I'm going to leave it alone. When I get to my 4-3 over, now this I'm going to leave alone because I'm going to call a lot of just basic plays where it's cover one style. But my over wide is going to be, again, kind of getting to that, hey, we want to disguise a little bit. So we want to have the cover three shell. What that does is when you make those changes there, when you come over here, you're set, good to go. So if I call cover three match, it's obviously going to come out on three shell, three sky, all that stuff. Let me just show you this. Call three sky, boom. I'm going to call a play, 11 personnel. Okay, so we're out here. We're showing the cover three look right from the start. That is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is also going back to a cover two look, right? Making people think, and then maybe getting back to a cover three. All right, that's something to think about. If you don't like that style, the way that I actually did it when I was with Wade Phillips was to, hey, we're going to come out in our cover two look always to start. And then how quickly we walk down will be depending on the formation or the play. Okay. So if you want to do it like that, that would be more like the nickel wide situation. All my stuff right now is in cover two. If I call cover three press sky, whatever reason, that's the look. And then if you want to walk down into it, just go to a walk down, show three look, right? And mess around. This might be more ideal when I'm talking about maybe playing and trying to mess around with this weak side safety and trying to like get them aligned and usering this guy and then going back to different coverages. All right. So just want to kind of let that thing just rock out real easy. Okay. So the other thing too I have is when I look at the actual favorites, I do have, especially when it comes to the passing situations, plays that are better for certain formations. Okay. And let me actually go there first. My thought process is I really want to have plays that are good versus all formations. Okay. But unfortunately, you can't do that, especially if you're playing some cover six coverages that you don't want to play match to. You want to save your cover sixes more for 2x2, right? If you are a match team and you don't want to match versus 3x1, you don't like the stubby match, okay, or the special match where we are basically playing nickels playing two vertical if two and three go vertical, and that's some people like it, some people don't. Now this team is different because we are going to play zone underneath. We're not going to play true um, match coverage all the time. But in general, the way I usually do it is the column on the right usually has a good 3x1 answer. Column in the middle is 2x2. Column on the left hand side is good versus everything. Now, this one here is actually good versus everything as you see it on this page. But here you would see I like to run Tampa 2. It's actually good versus everything. Maybe I should have put it there. But I like it versus it's a good 3x1 answer in this scenario. 2x2, cover six, and then good versus everything. The nickel pressure here, maybe because we're actually going to turn this into a hot pressure later on. So I just want to make sure you know that. That's pretty much good because you just want to make it turn into hot pressure. Again, going through each thing. Cover two, good versus 3x1. Cover nine is also good versus 3x1 and also 2x2. Quarters is good versus everything. So I just kind of have that flow kind of going through it. It's not exact, but like this is a good representation of 3x1. My first favorite check is cover nine or defense. 2x2, cover six, all defense, cover the first column. So if you're like playing a game, you're not quite sure, I don't know what to call, I just want to mix it up. Look at the formation and just default to that if you need to. Okay. All right. So, like I said, I'm going to save the actual why and what we're doing to this. I just want to give you an overview of things you need to know. So you're going to be in nickel more often. That's why it's the first thing up. But then right beneath it, you have your wide, the 4-3 wide defenses. Some of your supplementary stuff is always going to be in the middle. Then we start going to third and medium plays. These are your third down. I want to bring pressure, third and medium. And then as we go further down, you see more of your, I want to come out and play more coverage. Okay. Now, since this is a very simple game plan, only 54 plays right now, I will say that the big thing that you don't want to forget is to rotate your D line, okay? Because that's a big part of just keeping guys fresh. Use some of your substitutions. Now, I think if you're in a CFM, you should potentially use a different line setup for your wide and your normal off the bat, okay? And just put in like the backups on one, the other guys on another, or at least flip your guys left and right. You have to manually go in there and do that if you want to do it during the game. But some, if you're in a CFM, you can do that separately. That's a way to kind of keep guys fresh, something to think about. Um, if you want to get into also some of these 4DN packages, I think that's wise and smart to get some more speed, especially once you start selecting plays and you want to start using stunts. So we'll have a video on stunts. We're going to use a lot of these 4-man stunts, not just Texas, but we're going to use El Paso, some Tempe, some Pirate definitely. We're going to use some Tom interior stuff. So we're going to use these different stunts from the play call screen and also from the field. But I just want to make sure you know that that's going to be happening a lot. We're going to be shifting our line left and right. We're going to have a nice little game plan that I'm going to give you for the defensive line because that's a huge part of the system. You're not going to be pressuring all the time, and we want to make sure we use that. Now, the last thing is, and I'll leave you with this, is that we have our mug stuff, which I'm still working on now, of understanding how I want to kind of like unleash this. If you ever watched any of my videos from last year, I was working on like trying to create this stuff without having it in the game. Now it's in the game. So we can actually line up in a single load and actually do some nice little games with the linebacker and do things like that. So we'll work on that and have that be a nice little attacking plan, I think, going forward. That's pretty much it, guys. I mean, I guess the one thing I can say is what I think I want to do, and just so you know, is that let me just give you one little thing before we go here. Our load mug, our load play in general, that's probably the best way to get started. Come out in quarters, right? This is where you want to work some games on this side of the field, right? And then also, you should know that most of the time, protection, most people should at least probably slide to the load side. So this is where you want to get into eventually some single mug stuff. And you know you're going to get one-on-one if this guy pressures. If you can also somehow get two guys to come off the side, there's a chance that somebody's going to come free because most of the time this is the man blocking side. All right, so just understand that. And then once we go from there, then we will also go back to what I had talked about, bringing the safety down here and showing some 4 weak pressure. I'm not going to show you the game film right now, but having 4 guys on one side of the field usually is, a sign that, hey, it's hard to block. If they're not zoning to that side, they're really in trouble. So you kind of forces the zone to be to the side. So just having this guy down here and using this guy to be your primary user, I think that's something that you should definitely consider. Okay. All right, that's about it, man. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, hit me up. I'll give you more detail, obviously, of actual football stuff on the next video, but this was kind of like an organizational video just to let you guys know what's out there. Everything will be below in the links below for everything I showed you. The NFL sheet I will give out to you guys as well. If you guys want that college sheet, let me know. All right, talk to you guys later, man. Peace.